The cafeteria was loud. Trays, laughter, phones buzzing, and then silence, because everyone heard it. Mr. Kane's voice, sharp, cold, cruel. He stood over a small table, holding his expensive black coffee. In front of him sat Eli, the office boy, with a cheap metal lunchbox. Mr. Kane shouted, "Is that your lunch?" Eli nodded. His hands shook as he opened the box. Inside was simple food. Rice, lentils, and one small piece of chicken, wrapped in old foil. A few workers nearby covered their mouths. They knew what was coming. Mr. Kane laughed loudly. "This smells like a dirty street stall. You bring this to my office? To my company cafeteria?" People turned to look. Forks stopped. Chairs stopped moving. Eli whispered, "Sir, it's just homemade food. My mom." Mr. Kane cut him off. "Your mom? Tell your mom this is not some cheap roadside shop. This is Kane Enterprises. We have standards." He leaned closer. His voice turned even meaner. "Do you know how much I pay for the food here? For the chef? For the environment?" He waved his hand around at the glass walls, the fancy lights, the marble floor. "And you sit here with this poor people's food?" Some people snickered. Others looked down. Nobody spoke up. Eli's eyes filled with tears. He tried to close the lunchbox, but Mr. Kane grabbed it, lifted it in the air, and said loudly, "Everyone, look at this. This is what happens when you hire anyone from the street. They bring the slum into your company." Soft laughter. Nervous smiles. A few workers looked away in shame. Eli stared at the floor. His heart pounded. His throat burned. He thought, "Why is my food a joke? What did I do wrong?" And just then, the glass door of the cafeteria opened. A woman in a sharp white blazer walked in. Everyone went quiet. Grace Carter, the company's biggest investor. The only person Mr. Kane was afraid of. She heard his last words. She saw Eli's shaking hands. She smelled the lunch still hanging in the air. And in that moment, Karma quietly walked into the room. Grace stood near the door and watched. Mr. Kane hadn't seen her yet. He was still performing. He dropped Eli's lunchbox back on the table with a loud clang. "Next time, eat outside," he said. "Or better, don't eat at all during work hours. People like you are here to serve, not to sit and eat like managers." Eli's lips trembled. "Sir, I only have 20 minutes. I came early today. I've been working since 7 a.m. I didn't even." Mr. Kane rolled his eyes. "Excuses. You're not special, Eli. You are replaceable." The word hit Eli like a slap. Replaceable. He slowly closed his lunchbox. His fingers were wet from the tears that finally fell. No one moved. No one defended him. If you were in his place, what would you do? Would you speak up? Or would you stay quiet to keep your job? Grace's eyes narrowed. She had seen enough. She walked forward. Her heels clicked on the floor. Click, click, click. Each step sounded like judgment. "Good afternoon, everyone," she said, voice calm. Heads turned. People straightened in their chairs. Mr. Kane froze. His confident smile disappeared. "Ms. Carter," he said quickly. I didn't know you arrived." Grace looked at Eli first. His red eyes. His shaking hands. The closed metal box. Then she looked at Mr. Kane. "I arrived just in time," she replied. She turned to Eli gently. "What is your name?" she asked. Eli wiped his face with the back of his hand. "Eli, ma'am. I'm the office boy." Grace gave a small smile. "Nice to meet you, Eli. May I ask, what's in your lunch?" Eli hesitated. People stared. Mr. Kane laughed nervously. "Oh, don't worry about that. Just some cheap food. I was just teaching him about standards. You know how these people are." The words, "these people," hung in the air like poison. Grace's face changed. Something hard and cold appeared in her eyes. She spoke slowly. "I see." She turned to Eli again. "Eli," she said softly, "would you please bring your lunch and come to the boardroom in 10 minutes?" Everyone gasped. "The boardroom?" Eli repeated, shocked. "Yes," Grace said. "The big one. Don't be late." Then she looked at Mr. Kane. "And you, Mr. Kane," she added, "bring the quarterly reports. And your standards." She walked out of the cafeteria. Mr. Kane's jaw tightened. He forced a smile as he watched her leave. But inside, his stomach twisted. What did she hear? What did she see? He grabbed his phone and walked out quickly. Behind him, workers whispered. What was that? Why did she call the office boy? Did she hear everything? Eli sat there, still holding his lunchbox. His heart beat even faster. He thought, why does she want to see me? Did I cause trouble? Will I lose my job? He stood up slowly. Whatever waited in that boardroom would change his life. And Mr. Kane's. The boardroom was cold. Large glass table. Black leather chairs. A city view behind wide windows. Eli stood near the door, clutching his lunchbox with both hands. He tried not to shake. He had never been in this room before. This was where important people talked about money, power, and the future of the company. He felt small, like a shadow in the wrong place. Grace sat at the head of the table. No one else was there yet. She looked up and smiled gently. "Come in, Eli," she said. "Don't be afraid. Sit down." Eli swallowed. I'm okay standing, ma'am." Grace shook her head. "Everyone who enters this room sits," she replied. "No one stands like a servant in front of me. Sit." Her tone was kind, but firm. Slowly, Eli sat in the chair closest to the door. He placed the metal lunchbox on the table carefully, like it was something fragile. A moment later, the door opened again. Mr. Kane walked in, holding a folder and his expensive coffee. He forced a smile. "Ms. Carter," he said, "I brought the reports. We can begin the meeting about the new investors." Grace's voice was calm. "Oh, this is not that meeting," she said. "This is another kind of meeting." Mr. Kane blinked. "I don't understand." Grace folded her hands. "Good," she said. "Then let me make it clear." She pointed to the metal lunchbox. "What's inside that?" she asked. Mr. Kane forced a laugh. "Oh, that? That's just the office boy's lunch. I already told him it's not." "I didn't ask what you told him," Grace cut in. "I asked what's inside." Mr. Kane's smile faded. He looked at Eli, then back at Grace. I don't know," he muttered. "Exactly," Grace replied. She turned to Eli. "Will you open it, please?" she asked softly. Eli nodded. With slow hands, he opened the box. The smell of warm food filled the room. Simple, but full of care. "Rice, lentils, and a small piece of chicken," Eli said quietly. "My mom cooked it this morning. She woke up at 4 a.m. We don't have much, but she always says, 'You must go to work with a full stomach. Your day is hard enough.'" His voice broke on the last words. Grace's eyes softened. "Does your mother work?" she asked. Eli nodded. "She cleans houses," he said. At night, she sews clothes. She saved for years to buy me these shoes so I could work in a big office. She was so happy when I got this job." He looked down at his worn shoes. A small tear dropped on the floor. He added in a whisper, "She told me, 'Rich people will respect you now.'" The room went quiet. Mr. Kane shifted his weight. Suddenly the leather chair didn't feel so comfortable. Grace looked at him. "Is this how you respect people, Mr. Kane?" she asked. "By making fun of their food? Their mothers? Their lives?" Mr. Kane raised his hands slightly. "Ms. Carter, please. I was just joking. You know how these workers are. If you don't show them who is boss, they get lazy. It was just motivation. Motivation." Grace repeated. She stood up slowly. Her face was calm, but her eyes were burning now. "Let me tell you something I don't share often," she said. She walked to the window and looked out at the city. "I used to bring food like this too," she said quietly. "Simple food, wrapped in old cloth. People laughed at me, called me the girl who smells like curry." Eli blinked. Mr. Kane looked surprised. Grace went on. "I worked as a cleaner, in an office just like this," she said. "The CEO of that company did what you did today. One day, he called everyone in the cafeteria and joked about my lunch, about my smell, about my accent." Her hands shook slightly at the memory. "I went home and cried," she said. "But I also promised myself something. I promised, one day I will sit at the big table, and I will never let anyone feel that small in front of me." She turned around and faced them. "And now I see you, Mr. Kane, doing the same thing that was done to me." Silence. The air felt heavy. Grace looked from Mr. Kane to Eli. "This company was built on hard work, not on expensive coffee," she said. "I invested in it because I believed in its people, not in its marble floors." She paused. Then she said 5 words that made Mr. Kane's face go pale. "Eli stays. You are leaving." Mr. Kane's eyes widened. What?" he stammered. "You can't be serious. I built this company. I made it what it is. You can't just—" "I can," Grace replied simply. "And I will." She slid a paper across the table. "With immediate effect, you are suspended for public harassment and disrespect of staff," she said. "The board will review your position in a formal meeting tomorrow. For now, hand over your access card." Eli's mouth fell open. Minutes ago, he was being insulted over his lunch. Now he was watching the most powerful man in the office lose his power, right in front of him. Mr. Kane's hands shook. "You're ruining me over an office boy?" he whispered. Grace's reply was sharp. "No," she said. "You ruined yourself the moment you forgot that every person here is human." She held out her hand. "Your card, Mr. Kane." His fingers trembled as he removed the shiny black card from his pocket. He placed it on the table. His own reflection stared back at him from the card's plastic surface. For the first time, he didn't like what he saw. He whispered, I didn't mean." But it was too late. Grace picked up the card and nodded toward the door. "Security will escort you out," she said. Mr. Kane turned to Eli. Their eyes met. For years, Eli had looked at him with fear. For the first time, Mr. Kane looked at Eli with shame. Eli quickly looked away. Grace broke the silence. "Eli," she said softly, "would you stay? I'm not done with you yet." As Mr. Kane slowly walked toward the door, shoulders heavy, head down, one thought echoed in his mind. This is my karma." The door closed behind Mr. Kane. The room felt different, lighter, but still full of emotion. Eli sat there, confused. "Ma'am," he said carefully, I don't want anyone to lose their job because of me." Grace shook her head. "This is not your fault," she said firmly. "This is about what is right." She sat down again and pointed to the lunchbox. "Eli," she said, "may I taste your mom's cooking?" Eli's eyes widened. "Why, yes, of course," he said quickly. He pushed the box toward her and handed her a spoon. Grace took a small bite. She closed her eyes for a moment. A memory flashed in her mind. A tiny kitchen. Her own mother smiling over a pot of food. The same warm, simple taste of love. She opened her eyes again. "This is the best food I've tasted in this building," she said. Eli smiled for the first time that day. "Really?" he asked, surprised. "Really," Grace replied. "Does your mother ever cook for others? Like for events or orders?" Eli thought for a second. "Sometimes the neighbors ask her to cook for small parties," he said. "But we don't have money to start a real business. She always says, 'Maybe one day.'" Grace leaned forward. "What if one day is today?" she asked. Eli stared. "I don't understand." Grace smiled. "I want to offer your mother a catering contract," she said. "For this company." Eli gasped. "A sea catering contract?" he repeated. "You mean she would cook for the staff? For everyone?" "Yes," Grace said. "We're changing the cafeteria supplier. I'm tired of fancy food with no heart. I want real, homemade food. Food that reminds people of respect and struggle. If your mother agrees, we can start with a small monthly contract. If it goes well, we grow it." Tears rolled down Eli's cheeks. He covered his face with his hands. "Ma'am, this would change everything for us," he whispered. "She could stop working nights. She could sleep. She's always tired." Grace nodded softly. "Then let's change everything," she said. She picked up a notepad. "Also, from today, you are no longer just the office boy," she added. "I'm promoting you to office coordinator. Better salary. More respect. But one thing stays the same. You keep your heart kind, like it is now. Deal?" Eli laughed through his tears. "Deal," he said. Thank you so much." Grace stood up. "One more thing," she said. "I want you to do something brave." Eli wiped his tears. "What is it?" he asked. "Come with me," she replied. 10 minutes later, they walked back into the cafeteria. Everyone went silent again. Grace walked to the center. Eli stood at her side, still holding his lunchbox. Workers whispered, "Is that Eli? Why is he with her? What happened to Mr. Kane?" Grace raised her voice so everyone could hear. "Earlier today," she said, "I saw something in this room that made me very sad. I saw a man with power insult a young worker, not for his work, but for his food, for his poverty, for his mother." Some people lowered their heads. "From today," Grace continued, "that man no longer leads this company." Gasps. Hands over mouths. Eyes wide. She put a hand on Eli's shoulder. "And from today," she said, "this young man, Eli, is your new office coordinator." A few people started clapping slowly. Then more joined. Soon, the whole cafeteria was applauding. Eli's face turned red. He looked down, overwhelmed. Grace raised her hand again. "And one more thing," she added. "Soon, you will all be eating the food his mother cooks. It will be the new cafeteria menu. So remember this. When you pick up your plate, you are not just eating food. You are tasting someone's hard work, someone's struggle, someone's love." She looked around the room. "If I ever see anyone laugh at someone's lunch again," she warned, They will join Mr. Kane outside the building. Nervous laughter. But also respect. Eli opened his lunchbox and looked at it with new eyes. It was the same rice, the same lentils, the same piece of chicken. But now, it did not feel small. It felt powerful. He thought of his mother. How proud she would be when he told her. He thought of Mr. Kane, walking out of the building with his expensive coffee, and no job. That was his karma. Fast, sharp, public. Eli felt no hate, only relief. Because today, for the first time, he was not just a poor office boy. He was a young man who had been seen, respected, lifted up. At the end of the day, as Eli left the building, the security guard smiled at him. "Coordinator Eli," the guard joked, "don't forget us when you become CEO one day." Eli laughed. "I'll never forget," he said. "People like us, we remember everything." He stepped out into the evening light. The city looked a little different, brighter. He whispered to himself, "Mom was right. Rich people can respect us. Sometimes it just takes the right rich person to show them how." Never judge someone by their lunchbox, their clothes, or their salary. The person you insult today may be the reason you lose everything tomorrow. If you saw this in real life, would you stay silent, or would you speak up?